So thank you, everybody, and welcome. Good afternoon. I'm just going to report briefly on some of the highlights we had during the last fiscal year. So I'll go through this very briefly. If I can change my slide. Okay. Right on. So this is the some of the project objectives are listed there. It's a bit of the context as well is on that slide. So Canadian landmass is underlies 50% of its landmass is composed by permafrost in various conditions, continuous, discontinuous. Sometimes it's sporadic, isolated. There's even subsea permafrost. We're going to chat about that later in this talk. And when it degrades, it vents several fluids and contaminants, including heavy metals, greenhouse gases, into the environment. In this project, we strive to study identify the different permafrost conditions in the Beaufort Mackenzie area. That's our playground. We want to try to push for method development that allows us to identify areas where permafrost is degrading. And then we go there, we sample, and we analyze what's coming out of the degrading permafrost, basically. Just the project members, I just want to highlight one thing that is very obvious is the bulk of the persons that are working on this project are external collaborators. GSC staff is very little in this project, and I also want to point out that Scott Dallimore is retiring in June. Scott was pivotal during the inception of the project, and also for his numerous contacts that really helped to gather this group of external collaborators. So for sure is going to be missed during the last year of this project. A bit of the context, obviously, on the second slide, I showed that the extent of the permafrost in Canada, study areas here, and now you see the projected temperature increase by 2090. So as you can probably imagine, temperatures are going to go up quite dramatically, even above 10 degrees in the Arctic. And that's going to lead to permafrost to enhance permafrost degradation. And that's a sketch where you see all those geological phenomena that are related to the to permafrost and gas hydrate, permafrost degradation and gas hydrate dissociation in the context of global warming. And that through those processes, you're releasing, as I said, contaminants and greenhouse gases. First highlight I want to present is the successful geoscientific expedition we had in the Canadian Beaufort Sea last fall. Virginia Break was on the ship operated by the Korean Polar Research Institute. Participated to this international cruise that allowed to collect quite a vast suite of data that really helped to address the status of subsea permafrost degradation. And in the moment, there are samples that were recovered. Obviously, there are a suite of geochemical and analyses that are currently run in different labs in the US. Especially in California. During that expedition, one of the top highlight was the first ever observation of subsea permafrost outcrop during a dive with the ROV here that really allowed to go there and capture raw footage of this outcrop. And then we also managed to retrieve some samples, ice samples coming from the subsea permafrost as well. And what you see here is a bathymetry map that was from bathymetric data that were collected using this AUV system that is developed by Barry, Monterey Bay Aquarium Research Institute, which is one of our key partners in this project. Second thing, we've been really had a big push this year is the use of geophysical methods, mostly seismic methods, to really characterize the state of permafrost in the Beaufort Sea, so subsea permafrost. So in this case, I don't want to go through the details because it might be a bit complex. Just to say that we're using a deep learning seismic inversion, and from that we look at the data in different domains, if you like, and using a very big training data set which consists in 43,000 plus seismic shots. We are able to derive key parameters that is generally used to characterize subsea permafrost. For example, variation in compressional velocity, shear velocity, also attenuation, which can be used to characterize different states of permafrost. And that's the architecture of the deep neural network that we're using. This is part of the project of Jefferson Bustamante at Polytechnique Montreal, who is finishing this year. Another neat result is from our PhD student in Kiel University. Henrik Grobe has been doing diving wave tomography. So basically, when you have a very strong velocity gradients in the subsurface, for example, frozen versus unfrozen sediments are going to generate diving waves. And permafrost is just a perfect setting to generate those waves. And Henrik has used this approach of diving wave tomography to generate a velocity model. So what you see here at the top is the permafrost body, and the variation in colors represent so colder colors are faster velocities within the permafrost body, and the warmer here yellow to green is slower velocity. So you see that there are holes in the permafrost. Also, you can see that there are it's not a constant isotropic layer. It changes from top to bottom in terms of velocities, and also across the continental shelf. The shelf edge is here, and so that's what Henrik has been producing lately, and he's also finishing this year. So that's stuff that I've been able to do when I'm not looking at what the students are producing. So that's a use of seismic diffraction to characterize discontinuities within the permafrost. So the top of the permafrost on this migrated seismic section is that big marker here. And once you do some processing, which is called demigration, you recover the diffractions, hyperbolas here. Generally, when you have a diffraction, it means that you have a lateral change in the seismic parameters, so which can be used again to map the discontinuities within the permafrost. So changes of permafrost conditions. And if we zoom on this little portion here, you can see that even within a single diffraction, obviously you can measure its velocity. But what is of interest as well is that you can see that in terms of amplitude, it's not continuous across the diffraction. We have a change, so that's something that we've been looking at and try to understand what it is. how it can be used to map the changes of within the permafrost in terms of conditions. And we've been doing this through elastic seismic modeling. So we're using very simplistic. We're starting from very simplistic seismic model and what we're interested in. So this is a model shot gather is really this part where all the diffracted wave field is coming off. So it's generated at the edge here of this this permafrost push up, if you'd like. So we're really looking to understand what's happening and how we could use diffraction to characterize permafrost degradation. Also, we've been doing lab work. This is the results, some of the results of the PG thesis of Hassan Bouzougi, who graduated this year. And basically, you know, we've been doing real-time measurements of acoustic, electric, and CT scan properties on degrading samples. And basically just here to image the changes of seismic properties around 0 degrees Celsius in terms of not only the velocity, but also in terms of the waveform. So that can be really important when it comes to explain the attenuation. And this is can be used, for example, to better understand what's happening on the field when you collect seismic data over permafrost terrains. This is a result of micro CT scan monitoring, so you can do using the ounce fill unit. So basically, it's the attenuation measurements of provided with this micro CT system. So you can segment the image and isolate the different phases of the sample, and then you can follow the evolution of those phases during as the samples are melting. And this led to the discovery of a theory that is called thermal bridge, where you have permafrost, that the degradation that is accelerated by the dissolution of NaCl. So basically, brines that is located, or brine films that are located at the grain boundary, and that's becoming the main mechanism to transfer heat into frozen media. And the last thing we do is fresh results from last Friday, coming from a service company, geothermal, that we're working with. Is the thermal conductivity work that we've been doing, and that includes characterization that is realized using well logs. So both wells here are located approximately 4 kilometers apart, and you see that even within this distance, short distance, within the same geological units, how thermal conductivity is changing. And that has some importance to explain the variation in permafrost thickness. Also, why sometimes permafrost is degrading at one location and right to the next, it's not degrading. So as I mentioned, it just suggests that some of those differences we observe are simply caused by variation in thermal conductivities of the geological media, even within the same formation. So that's about it for me. This is my contact. If you have questions, use a chat, or you can always email me using the email on the slide. Thank you.